So we're exploring this wonderful book of Everlasting Day. And we've reached page 680. And I'll start reading from line 322. We're already in the second section of this book, this canto. And Savitri, rising to a high level, there was a lovely description of her rising up like a bird in the morning, singing as he mounts up into the air. You can't see him, but you can hear his lovely song as he floats up higher and higher and higher. And when she gets up into those heights, it's as if she's drowned in a sea of splendor and bliss. And when she turns around, she sees their living knot and source, the being who is the very center of those worlds, these surprising worlds. And she immediately recognizes that he is the same being who appeared to her, whom she was battling with in his form of death and night. But now he's completely changed. So that's what I'm going to read about, how she sees him now. Death's somber cowl was cast from nature's brow. There lightened on her the Godhead's lurking laugh. All grace and glory and all divinity were here collected in a single form. All worshipped eyes looked through his from one face. He bore all Godheads in his grandiose limbs. An oceanic spirit dwelt within, intolerant and invincible in joy, a flood of freedom and transcendent bliss into immortal lines of beauty rose. In him the fourfold being bore its crown that wears the mystery of a nameless name. The universe writing its tremendous sense in the inexhaustible meaning of a word. In him, the architect of the visible world, at once the art and artist of his works, spirit and seer and thinker of things seen, Virat, who lights his campfires in the suns, and the star-entangled ether is his hold, expressed himself with matter for his speech. Objects are his letters, forces are his words, events are the crowded history of his life, and sea and land are the pages for his tale. Matter is his means and his spiritual sign. He hangs the thought upon a lash's lift, in the current of the blood, makes flow the soul. His is the dumb will of atom and of clod, a will that without sense or motive acts, an intelligence needing not to think or plan. The world creates itself invincibly, for its body is the body of the Lord, and in its heart stands Virat, King of Kings. In him shadows his form the golden child, who in the sun-capped vast cradles his birth. Hiranyagarbha, author of thoughts and dreams, who sees the invisible and hears the sounds that never visited a mortal ear. Discoverer of unthought realities, truer to truth than all we have ever known. He is the leader on the inner roads. A seer, he has entered the forbidden realms. A magician with the omnipotent wand of thought, he builds the secret, uncreated worlds. Armed with the golden speech, the diamond eye, his is the vision and the prophecy. Imagist, casting the formless into shape. Traveler and hewer of the unseen paths, he is the voice of the ineffable. He is the invisible hunter of the light, the angel of mysterious ecstasies, the conqueror of the kingdoms of the soul. We'll start this side today.
With somewhat out was cast from nature's barrow. Their tightened on their guarded lurking blood.
Yes. When she sees this wonderful divine being, for Savitri, it is as if this dark hood of death has been removed from the brow of nature. It's no longer there, this dark cloud of death. And it's as if that Godhead is laughing at her, because he has shown to her, himself to her in this disguise. And now he shows that it was a disguise and his real being, and he's laughing at her. Look how I really am. Bärbel.
All grace and glory and all divinity were here collected in a single form. All worshipped eyes looked through his from one face. He wore all Godheads in his glorious limbs.
Yes. All whatever grace, whatever glory, whatever divinity we can possibly conceive or imagine or experience have all been collected together in this single form which he is showing to her now. And she sees that all the eyes, all the divine eyes that could ever be worshipped are looking out at her from this one face. He's carrying all the individual forms of the divine, all Godheads in these grandiose limbs. They are on a grand scale, full of nobility and glory. Yes, now you can read.
And oceans dwelt within, intolerant and invisible in joy, a flood of freedom and transcendent bliss, into immortal limbs of lines of beauty rose.
Yes, thank you. An oceanic spirit, a spirit that is as wide and limitless as the ocean, is dwelling within. I think within his limbs, but Savitri feels it also within herself. The poet says that this spirit is intolerant. It insists on its own reign and rule. And it is invincible. It can't be conquered, can't be overcome. It's full of joy, of bliss. So she feels this flood of freedom, freedom from illusion, freedom to move in every way, and transcendent bliss, the original bliss which is beyond the universe. That flood rises up into the immortal lines and the immortal beauty of these limbs, of this form which the Godhead is wearing. Kamala.
In him the fourfold being bore its crown, that wears the mystery of the nameless name, the universe writing its tremendous sense. In the inexhaustible meaning of a word.
Yes, so thank you. We'll just read one sentence at a time. So the poet is telling us that all worshipped Godheads are there in that one form, but he's also, or part of that, is the fourfold being. When I read only about two of these aspects of the fourfold being. He has four aspects, and they are given different names in the Indian tradition, but the series that Sri Aurobindo is referring to here, it is Virat, who is the artist and creator of the material world, Hiranyagarbha, who is the dreamer of the subtle worlds out of which our material future will arise. The third one is Prajna, the supreme wisdom which has organized all these worlds and is their source. And the fourth one has a nameless name. He's called Turiya, the fourth state. We can't really put a label on that fourth state, Turiya. So first, Sri Aurobindo's going to speak about Virat. But let us say, in him, in this being that she sees, this form that she sees, this fourfold being is wearing its crown. It's the ruler. And that fourfold being, we can put on him, we can think of him, conceive him, he's wearing the mystery of a nameless name, a name that can't be defined or mentioned. That name is in fact the whole universe, which is expressing its tremendous meaning, which should be encapsulated in that word. The universe is writing its tremendous sense, the meaning of the universe, in this inexhaustible meaning of a word. That would be the name of this being. Something whose meaning is infinite and eternal and can never be exhausted. Ganga Lakshmi.
In him, the architect of the invisible world, at once the art and artist of his work, spirit and seer, and thinker of things seen, Virat, who lights his campfire in the suns, and the star rectangle ether of his own, express himself with matter of formed speech. Objects are his letters, forces are his words, events are the grounded history of his life, and sea and land are the pages for his story.
His tale. He's writing his story on the sea and the land. He is the architect of the visible world. He has built this material creation, or this creation of appearances where we live. He is the artist of his works, and he also embodies the art from which those works flow. He is spirit. He is seer. He sees everything. He is thinker. He's the spirit and the seer and the thinker of the things that we see, things seen, of the world of appearances. And Virat, he is the one who lights his campfires in the suns. Of course, we are connected with one particular sun, but there are so many suns in the universe. And these are all his campfires. They show, I am here, I stay here, I stay here, all of them. And the star-entangled ether is his hold. As I've mentioned before, the physicists have come to the conclusion that this element, which the ancients named ether, this finest and subtlest substance, they have proved to their own satisfaction that it doesn't exist. But long after they proved that, Sri Aurobindo went on using the word in its ancient sense of the subtlest form, rarest form of substance. And I believe that one day the physicists will also realize that after all there is something like that. They may give it a different name. So when we look out into outer space through the wonderful telescopes that are now available to us, we see a whole mass of stars, as if they are outer space, distant space, is entangled in stars. Like if we walk through a forest in the right weather, The wild jasmines are everywhere, no? And you can't walk through. There are so many of them. Something like that. We look up and we see all these wonderful stars. That is his stronghold. There he is expressed and seated. So in Virat, he expresses himself with matter for his speech. Matter is his language in this embodiment. Objects, all the objects that we see around us, they are his letters, the letters of his language. If we can learn to decipher those letters, we'll be able to read his messages. And the forces of nature are his words. Everything that happens is part of the crowded history of his life. This is all his own experiences. He's unfolding himself. And the sea and land are the pages for his tale. His story is written on sea and land and in the air. Is it clear? Anybody would like to ask anything?
Basically, they say the universe is made of 5% matter, which we see in starlight. 95% is energy.
Yes.
Dark energy or dark matter, like black holes and all those things. So it's 95% energy and 5%.
So the ancients, you will remember, they spoke about 5 elements. No? And Sri Aurobindo has written about them in some of his commentaries on the Upanishads, and he says that none of those elements exists in its pure form in our material universe. The matter that we have is a mixture of all of them, like our air is a mixture. All matter, all material existence is a mixture of these 4 elements. Ether is the basic one, the underlying, supporting formlessness out of which the others emerge. And what was called air gives the possibility in that fine ether of some kind of contact, of touch. And then comes fire. With fire, the first forms emerge. And of course, there are 3 different ways in which this fire manifests itself. But I won't go into all that now. But it's connected with first forms. And then there's the water, the flow, which we connect with the possibility of life. And then matter is the material principle, which is the physical basis for the creation. So, thank you for confirming that ether really exists. Sarojini.
Matter is his means and his spiritual sign. He hangs the thought upon a large slab. In the current of the cloth makes flow the soul.
Thank you. So Virat uses matter as his means, and at the same time it's his sign, his spiritual sign of him at work. And Sri Aurobindo gives us 2 examples of Virat at work. He says he hangs the thought upon a lash's lift. He means the eyelashes. We can express a thought just by doing something with our eyes, smiling or winking, or it's amazing that we can do that we can express intention, emotion, all kinds of things just by a small sign like that. And how is it that in this material blood that flows through our body, our innermost consciousness also flows? That is the work of Virat. In the current of the blood, he makes flow the soul. Alice.
His is the dumb will of atom and of clod, a will that without sense or motive acts, an intelligence needing not to think or plan. The world creates itself invincibly, for its body is the body of the Lord, and in its heart stands Virat, King of Kings.
Yes, thank you. So within the atom, within the clod. Clod is mud, but we can also have a clod of soil. The soil is organic. It's not just purely inorganic matter. In these manifestations, there's a will. It can't express itself in words, in speech, but that will is working itself out. That's a kind of will that acts without using any senses, without having any conscious intention or motive. There's an intelligence there that doesn't need to think or to make plans as our mental intelligence does. This whole world, this whole material world is creating itself invincibly. It can't be stopped or prevented from that work that it's doing, because all this material body of our universe is the body of the Lord. And standing in the heart of this material universe and in every particle of this matter, there is Virat, the Lord expressing himself with matter for his speech. Mila.
In twin shadows is formed the golden child, who in the sun vast cradles his birth. Hiranyagarbha, author of thoughts and dreams, who sees the invisible and hears the sounds that never visited a mortal ear, discoverer of unthought realities, truer to truth than all we have ever known. He is the leader of the inner world. As seer, he has entered the forbidden realms. A magician with the omnipotent one of thought, he builds the secret uncreated worlds.
Yes. Hiranyagarbha, it means the golden embryo. So Sri Aurobindo translates this self into English as the golden child. So within Virat there's a shadow appearing, the shadow of the form of the golden child who takes many births. He cradles his births in the sun-capped vast. The vastness that is pervading and enveloping the material universe that we perceive, and which is ruled by the Supreme Sun, Hiranyagarbha. He is the source of thoughts and dreams, the subtle world. He sees what is invisible to us and hears sounds that our mortal ears, our physical ears that will die, they have never heard those sounds. These are subtle sounds. He's the discoverer of unthought realities, realities that have never been grasped by thought, unthought realities that are truer, closer to truth than all we have ever known. He is the one who can lead us when we travel the inner roads. He is a seer. He has the power of subtle vision. And with that power of subtle vision, he can enter all realms, not only the ones that are accessible, but also the ones that are forbidden. And he can work magic. Everyone who works magic, everyone who's a magician, has a wand, a rod, which is the sign of his or her power. And here Sri Aurobindo says Hiranyagarbha's wand is a wand of thought, an all-powerful wand of thought. Using that wand, he does his subtle creations. He builds the secret worlds that are not created in the sense that our material universe is created. They are, perhaps we could say, conceived. Jerry?
Armed with a golden speech, the diamond eye, this is the vision of the prophecy. Imagist casting the formless into shape. Traveler and viewer of the unseen path. He is the carrier of the hidden fire. He is the voice of the ineffable. He is the invisible hunter of the light. The angel of mysterious ecstasies. A conqueror of the kingdoms of the soul.
Yes. The worlds that Hiranyagarbha creates are the uncreated worlds, the secret worlds. He is a more mysterious power than Virat, who we can touch his body. So Sri Aurobindo, in describing Hiranyagarbha, is also using more mysterious language. He says that one of the powers with which Hiranyagarbha is armed is the golden speech. Gold is the color of Supermind, the supreme creative power. The word that creates And he's also armed with the diamond eye, the eye that is absolutely pure and clear and can pierce through all veils. So he has the powers of vision, and he can give us the power of vision and of prophecy, of seeing into the future. He creates images. He's an imagist. And using this power of creating images, he casts the formless into shape. Formless substances, like the substance of thought, or imagination, or vision. He gives them shapes. Shapes that we see with the inner eye. He travels on paths that we do not see. And he also creates those paths. He's the hewer. He's the one who cuts through these paths. If you're going to create a road through a mountain, you have to do a lot of hewing, of cutting. Or if you want to travel through a trackless forest, you will have to cut your way through. No? So he does that kind of thing. He creates these unseen paths. With him, he is carrying the hidden fire. There's some secret energy and power. He is the voice of the ineffable. The one who cannot be put into words or described in any way. We don't see him, but he's hunting the light, maybe catching it also. He's an angel, a messenger of mysterious ecstasies. He's the one who can lead us to conquer the kingdoms of the soul.
Angel is also a messenger.
An angel, that's what the word means. It's a one who brings a message from the divine. So these are the first two forms of the fourfold God, the fourfold being. Now we can read about the third one. Gumsun.
The Son spirits stood behind their hidden course. A mess of the superconscious flows in light. Creator of things in his own knowing state. All from his stillness came as a grows or tree. He is our seed and core, our head and base.
Yes. So this third spirit is behind Hiranyagarbha. He is the cause, the secret cause of them. He gives birth to them. He is a mass of superconscience, closed in light. His very nature is light. He seems to be in a kind of sleep state. We say Virat represents the waking state, Hiranyagarbha represents the dream state, Prajna represents the sleep state, deeply withdrawn from the surfaces of things. So he creates everything that exists in the material universe and in all the subtle worlds. He creates them in his sleep, because his indrawn consciousness is all-knowing. He doesn't move, he's not active, he's a status, no? But everything grows out of his stillness, as a tree grows out of its seed, you know. He is the seed and the core, the very center from which we ourselves have grown. He's our head and our base. We live and move in him. Slava.
All light is flesh from his closed eyes. And all wise truth is mystic in his heart. The omniscient Mary is she behind his lips. He is a wisdom that comes not by thought. His flawless silence brings that immortal thought.
Yes. This is the original wisdom in the heart of everything. His eyes are closed. He's in this sleep state. But the poet says that all light is just a flash out of those closed eyes. All the light in the universe and in the subtle worlds. And in his heart is an all-wise truth, a truth that is perfectly wise, mystic, hidden in his heart. And the ray of light and vision, which is omniscient, has all knowledge, is closed up behind his closed eyelids. He is the wisdom that's at the very heart of things, that doesn't come to us by thought. It's inherent in the creation. He doesn't speak. His wordless silence allows to come forth the immortal word. I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
Matthew.
Hello, Matthew. Would you read?
He sleeps in the atom and the burning star. He sleeps in man and God and beast and stone. Because he is there, the inconscient does its work. Because he is there, the world forgets itself.
You can read the next two lines.
He is the center of the circle of God. He the circumference of nature's work.
Yes. So he's sleeping everywhere, in everything. In the atom, and the particles of the atom, and in the burning star, the most intensely burning star. He's sleeping in every human being. He's sleeping in every god, in every animal, and in matter itself, in stone. And it's because he is there, this superconscient mass is there in the heart of everything, that the inconscient miraculously does its works. If if we look into the heart of things, things that seem to have no consciousness at all, everything is perfectly arranged. That's because within it is this wisdom. And because He's there, the world continues. It goes on and on and on. It forgets to die. If we think of God being a circle, He's at the center of the circle. And if we think of, when we stretch our thought out to think of the universe, including the subtle worlds, we can't help coming to a limit somewhere. There isn't really a limit, but there's a limit perhaps to the stretch of our thought. So here's that circle, which is the limit of nature's run. There He is, the circumference. Joanne.
His splendor is an almightiness in things. Awake, He is the eternal and supreme.
Yes, these two lines conclude the description of the prajna. His sleep in things is its almightiness that gets, the power that gets everything done. And when He's not asleep, awake, or in His not sleeping aspect, He is the eternal and the supreme Lord. And then we'll just read the next 3 lines, please, Sergei.
For the glory place of the infinite is only still and only God intercourse. Its immobile silence, absolute and all.
These 3 lines evoke the 4th state. Above, beyond even that wisdom which represents the sleep, there's the 4th state, the brooding bliss of the infinite, the limitless bliss of infinite existence and consciousness. Brooding, it's giving birth to things. It's all-knowing and all-powerful repose. It's motionless state of rest. It's unmoving silence, absolute and alone, which we can only refer to without knowing it. We'll stop there for today. Death's sombre cowl was cast from nature's brow. There lightened on her the Godhead's lurking laugh. All grace and glory and all divinity were here collected in a single form. All worshipped eyes looked through His from one face. He bore all Godheads in His grandiose limbs. An oceanic spirit dwelt within, intolerant and invincible in joy, a flood of freedom and transcendent bliss into immortal lines of beauty rose. In him the fourfold being bore its crown that wears the mystery of a nameless name, the universe writing its tremendous sense in the inexhaustible meaning of a word. In him the architect of the visible world, at once the art and artist of his works, spirit and seer and thinker of things seen, Virat, who lights his campfires in the suns, and the star-entangled ether is his hold, expressed himself with matter for his speech. Objects are his letters, forces are his words, events are the crowded history of his life, and sea and land are the pages for his tale. Matter is his means and his spiritual sign. He hangs the thought upon a lash's lift. In the current of the blood makes flow the soul. His is the dumb will of atom and of clod, a will that without sense or motive acts, an intelligence needing not to think or plan. The world creates itself invincibly, for its body is the body of the Lord, and in its heart stands Virat, King of Kings. In him shadows his form the golden child, who in the sun-capped vast cradles his birth, Hiranyagarbha, author of thoughts and dreams, who sees the invisible and hears the sounds that never visited a mortal ear. Discoverer of unthought realities, truer to truth than all we have ever known. He is the leader on the inner roads. A seer, he has entered the forbidden realms. A magician, with the omnipotent wand of thought, he builds the secret uncreated worlds. Armed with the golden speech, the diamond eye, his is the vision and the prophecy. Imagist, casting the formless into shape, traveller and hewer of the unseen paths, he is the carrier of the hidden fire. He is the voice of the ineffable. He is the invisible hunter of the light, the angel of mysterious ecstasies, the conqueror of the kingdoms of the soul. A third spirit stood behind their hidden cause, a mass of superconscience closed in light, creator of things in his all-knowing sleep. All from his stillness came as grows a tree. He is our seed and core, our head and base. All light is but a flash from his closed eyes. An all-wise truth is mystic in his heart. The omniscient ray is shut behind his lids. He is the wisdom that comes not by thought. His wordless silence brings the immortal word. He sleeps in the atom and the burning star. He sleeps in man and God and beast and stone. Because he is there, the inconscient does its work. Because he is there, the world forgets to die. He is the center of the circle of God. He the circumference of nature's run. His slumber is an almightiness in things. Awake, he is the eternal and supreme. Above was the brooding bliss of the infinite, its omniscient and omnipotent repose, its immobile silence, absolute and alone.